Hi, welcome to my podcast, Becoming a Cut Flower Grower. I'm your host, Lydia, and I'm here to share my year of growing and selling cut flowers. I'll be giving you the lowdown on everything I'm doing and sharing all the highs and lows, the good times and the inevitable disasters, all in real time. Join me on my cut flower journey, starting right now. Hello, good afternoon. A very warm welcome back to followers and regular listeners, and a special hello and welcome if you are a new listener or this is the first episode you've ever listened to, and you've just perhaps arrived here by accident and you're not even sure what this podcast is about. Sorry, I feel like I should start again from the beginning. The second I opened my mouth, the dog started barking, and it's just completely thrown me off. So let me just gather my thoughts. Right, so yes, welcome to new listeners. So I have never actually done a recap on these episodes of what the podcast is all about. I sort of just take it for granted that perhaps you've listened to a couple of them and you get the gist of what's going on. So I thought today, well, perhaps I would just do a really very quick 5-second recap of what it's all about. So it's a behind the scenes look at how I'm starting to grow and sell cut flowers in the south of England. I had a bit of a practice last year in my trial beds, and this year I'm doing it properly. Well, I use that in the looser sense of the word. So over the course of this year, 2025, I'm going to be sharing everything I'm doing through all of the planning stages, although that was kind of sort of January, February time, into the actual seed sowing and then planting out stages, which is kind of about now. And I record twice a week, and I do include all highs and lows, when everything's going well, when things aren't going well. So it's just a really honest take on what it's like to start off being a cut flower grower. So if you're thinking this might be something that you would like to do yourself, or you fancy a change in career, or you're just interested in the process, then this could be the podcast for you. So I hope you enjoy it. Now, since I did the last episode on Tuesday, I have been sowing some more cornflowers and zinnias. I'm about to plant out this afternoon the cornflowers that I sowed on the 10th of March, and also my broad beans on the 11th of March. They are raring to go. And the new thing that I've done this week is I've made myself a chart, like a little tiny spreadsheet, but on a piece of paper, not on the computer, with a list of all the seeds I'm growing in a column on the left hand side. And then on the rest of the page, I've got a rows of not rows, columns with the week number. So basically whatever the week commencing the date is, and I'm putting a tick in that box to show that I have sown the seed in that week, because I'm doing a really big push on successional sowing this year, so that you don't just end up with a massive clump of plants that are all ready at the same time and then a bit of a lull later on. So I'm trying to be really, really methodical about it this year. And basically, I'm trying to sow seed every fortnight now, so every other week. And generally speaking, I have been doing my seed sowing on a Monday or Tuesday, just so that it's easier for me to remember and get into a bit of a routine. Only I got, for some reason, a bit overexcited this afternoon, and it's Friday the 11th of April today. And I thought, oh, I'll go and sow some seeds. So I don't know quite what happened there. But anyway, the point is I've made this chart, and it has made it so much easier to see exactly what I sowed when, because although I have a list in my book, it's much easier visually just to have this tick box chart where I can see exactly, next week I need to get on the case with X, Y, and Z. So that's a really useful chart and a good idea if you have got loads of seed on the go as well, and you think, oh, which ones do I need to do next? And when you go through the seed box, it's like, oh, how am I going to organize these? And I have seen images on the internet of people who have proper little filing systems, and they put all the seeds in these filing systems. And if you're super organized like that and that helps your brain to do it, then by all means do that. But I quite like the convenience of just having a chart, and then I've got an enormous cardboard box that I have rummaged through for what I need. So you'll also know from Tuesday that the new duck house is finally finished and the doors have gone on. which means that we could put some guttering on and then get some water butts set up, because we still have not had any rain here in the south of England for weeks now. I'm not even sure. And so it's not the end of the world up there, because I've got just under 2,000 litres of water stored in the big water storage containers. But it is getting a little bit like, oh my goodness, this is getting a bit stressful. Anyway, we are due to have some rain on Tuesday. So I thought it would be really good to get these water butts in situ before Tuesday so that there isn't a last minute panic. And I did it myself yesterday and made a bit of what I thought was a pretty reasonable job, to be honest, given that I didn't want to buy any materials whatsoever, even though apparently they're all really, really cheap and just cost a couple of quid. And I prefer to reuse things, so I was grabbing bits and pieces from everywhere, and I got my trusty duct tape or my gaffer tape out, which for me solves a whole load of problems, and cobbled something together. And my other half took one look at it this morning and was like, nope, that's not going to work. They're just going to fall over when the rain comes. They're not safe. They'll just tip. And why have you put them there? And yeah, so I don't think I've done a particularly brilliant job. So I think he might be redoing that for me over the weekend. So I don't mind if things look a bit, scruffy and not perfect, but I don't want anything falling over. So we might have to look at that. I've got a bit of a seedling carousel going on. They are moving between the greenhouse, my inside windowsills, the table outside the greenhouse, and there's just all sorts of rotations going on based on what I think the seedlings are going to like. So most of the ones I'm doing are hardy annuals, which means that they will tolerate a frost. So if they can go outside anyway and just enjoy themselves outside, because the greenhouse is generally speaking a bit too hot at the moment once the seedlings are, a couple of centimeters tall. They don't need to be in the greenhouse. So really I need the heat to get everything else germinating. So there's a bit of a revolving door of things, and there's no particular method to it. It's just a question of going outside, and I have my coffee outside in the garden every morning, and I go and see the seedlings, and we have a chat, and we work out who's going to come outside for the day, who's going to stay where they are. Everybody gets watered because I don't like them going to bed with wet feet, and we work out where to put everybody for the day. So some of the cornflowers from the beginning of March sowing, they've already gone up to the plot, but they haven't gone in the ground yet. So I want to get them planted probably this evening. So I've been looking at plant spacings. So historically, when I've been gardening, plant spacings, you'd probably plant things a reasonable distance apart based on the size that the plant needs in that space. But you wouldn't crowd everything together because you want them to, have their own space and them not all be in some nasty, messy tangle. But for growing the cut flowers, they can be planted closer together. So I've been working out spacings, and what I think I found is that they can go 20 centimeters apart, or basically simply 25 plants per square meter. So at the moment, I've allocated 4 square meters for my cornflowers, 2 square meters for white and 2 for blue. And so I have got space for 100 at the moment. Now, I just planted this afternoon another 120 seeds. So I'm going to go off and have to try and find another 4 or 5 square meters, 5 square meters for these. And you know what? It's all very well planning it all in theory on a piece of paper, but I would rather go up to the plot and just literally physically mark it out. I don't take a ruler or a tape measure. I have actually misplaced my tape measure. I need to find that. It was in the back of the car at one point, but it has vanished. So I tend to just use my work boots, which are a little bit over 30 centimeters. So 3 strides and a smidgy bit by eye. And I know that's a meter. By far the quickest way of doing it. What else did I do? So yeah, a couple of days ago I made a new 10 square meter bed, because I keep looking at all the turf that needs lifting and it's just terrifying. And I thought, right, where else can I snaffle a bit of space from? So there was a bit of space between Roosty's house and the old duck house. So I've been weeding all of that, and it's mostly nettles, some green alkanet in there, and some grass. So that's slowly and surely been coming out. And where we did where my other half did the shed for the ducks, because so much levelling got involved, we've actually lifted quite a bit of soil from there, and I'm wheelbarrowing that down to the plot so that I can spread it onto the beds, because it's been fertilized by the chickens for quite a long time, and I think that's going to be really good to put down on the soil. Especially if we get all this rain next week, it'll help to just soften it all up and get everything watered in. Now, staking for the cornflowers. I'm going to be ahead of the curve this year. Nothing bad is going to happen. So you are supposed to do your staking before you put your plants out. Oh, and I find this so difficult because I'm just so excited about getting these guys in the ground and getting them off to a quick start. But I do know that I need to stake them properly so we don't have any accidents. So I've been looking at how to do it. I've got some metal road pins that I could use. It's very hard to get posts and stuff in the ground, not least because it's not hard and dry up there because the plot is on a slope. So it's just the soil is not, actually the slope's got nothing to do with it, but the ground is quite moist underneath the top layer. So it's not that it's physically impossible, it's just I've only got about 50 centimeters of soil before you hit the chalk and really big lumps of stone and rock. And so it's not like you can just smack a load of fence posts in really easily. So what I've used in the past is road pins, which are these sort of metal pins with like a hook on the top. It looks like an old-fashioned shepherd's crook, and they're made out of metal, and they're great. And I asked for some for my birthday last year, and that's what I got, and I love them. They're really useful for things. And I've got what I call the big smacky thing. I don't know, I can never remember the name of it, so I just call it the big smacky thing, and everybody knows what it means. And it's like a really, really heavy hammer, but with a fat smacky bit that you can smack road pins into the soil, into the chalk bed, and they'll go down. And unlike a fence post, which is, got a sort of 10 or 15 centimeter diameter that you'd have to get in the ground, the road pins are about 1 centimeter across, and they've got a sort of pointy bit. So they're much, much easier to get in the ground, because of course, when you're putting supports in, when you start to tension things, the last thing you want is for your supports to just all fold in, and you can't really have them pulled back the other way because it's just a massive trip hazard. So I'm going to go and see what I can fashion this evening. And I had two options for the actual physical support that will hold the plants up. So one of them was metal fencing, so a bit like chicken wire, but with the larger square holes, like square holes. So I'm going to have a scavenge around and see if we've got any of that. I don't think there's much on the plot because everything needed to be chicken safety size, so it was all like chicken wire diameter. But I'm going to go and have a look. The second option is to use string, and I quite like the idea of string because it's pretty easy to use and you can compost it at the end of the year. So I don't want to use any plastic netting or anything like that, because I just don't want any plastic in the flower growing area at all. And that's just a personal preference thing. I know you can reuse it, but for me, I just don't want it. So I'm going to go with the string. And in the past, I've just kind of pulled the string between the support posts and created a grid, like a matrix, and then the plants can grow up through that. I would love to buy jute netting, but it is wildly expensive. And I guess I'm assuming it's handmade. I might have to look that up actually, to see what explains the price. But I was watching a video the other day about how to make your own netting with string, and it looked pretty cool. So I thought I might have a go at that actually. but I don't think that's all going to happen this afternoon. So when I go up to the plot after I've recorded and uploaded this, I'm going to see what I can come up with. Suffice to say, I do want to do it properly for the cornflowers this year so we don't have any accidents. Okay, so that is an update of what's been happening for this week. And let's just pause it there for a minute while I work out what I was going to tell you next. Right, I've had a think, and there isn't anything to tell you next. That is literally it. So I'm going to wish you, as always, a lovely, fantastic weekend wherever you are in the world. And I hope that if you're doing seedlings and seeds, that they are all germinating and growing really well for you. And when I do my next episode, which should be Tuesday next week, I will hopefully have lots to report back on in terms of what I'm going to be doing now this evening and over the weekend. So as always, I wish you all the very best, and I will catch up with you next week.